Get your Bible, your holy Bible. Sit and let God talk to you a spell.
Hey, thanks for joining me today on Daily Devo with Pastor Steve. We're going to take just a few minutes here to look at one of the back alley prophets, Hosea. Call them back alley prophets because it's so rare do believers take time to read some of these Old Testament prophets. They're called the minor prophets, not because they weren't of significance, but because their books were rather short in comparison to Isaiah and Ezekiel and Jeremiah. Well, today we're looking at Hosea. A wonderful demonstration of God's love and mercy. Most of us are familiar with the parable that Jesus told about the prodigal son, prodigal meaning the wasteful, and how that son, although he had everything, although he was a child of the Father, he decided to take what he thought was his and his inheritance and go and waste it on wasteful living. And you remember that story. Well, today we're looking at the prodigal wife, a woman who basically sold out to the things of this world, sold her body to others. And really it was a demonstration of what the nation of Israel actually had done. They had prostituted themselves to other gods. So in Hosea chapter 1 and 2 today in your readings, you're going to find this story. Now, one of the things that this reminds us of is that the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. Lamentations 3:21-23 says, "But this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases." His mercies never come to an end. You can't wear them out. You can't go so far that God's love can't reach you. Amen. That's a good thing, isn't it? His love reaches to the uttermost, to the guttermost, to reach us and bring us back to Himself. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Well, Hosea. Actually, Hosea name means the Lord saves, and this is really a picture of what God is doing in this message of Hosea. It's a redemption story. And as Hosea's message to Israel becomes a real-life prophetic picture of God's love and redemption for His wayward wife, Israel. But also, it is a demonstration of God's great love and mercy for you and I. God tells Hosea in chapter 1, He says, "Take a wife of harlotry, Gomer, Gomer, and children of harlotry." So we don't know if Gomer was already one who participated in harlotry or prostitution, or whether it was something that she took up after being married. I kind of think it was something that she was drawn to and sought after she was married to Hosea. Well, Gomer's life of prostitution. She went after her lovers, Hosea 2:5. She falsely assumed that her lovers were her source of wealth and happiness. You know, how many times have people chased after their jobs, their education, their sex life, their whatever it might be, thinking that that was going to be the source of their wealth and happiness. And she found herself at the bottom of the pit, much like the prodigal son who was in the pig's pen, right? Eating the pig's leftovers. And she found herself at the bottom of the pit and remembering how good she really had it with her husband. She had lost everything. She had no joy. She had been sold into slavery. Wow. You know what? To go from a life of care and love from someone to a life of slavery, that's no picnic, and that isn't the way that God has called us to live. God has loved us, and His great love has redeemed us, and why we would want to backslide or go back into the things that He brought us out of, is a question for the ages, isn't it? But sometimes we find that we have pursued the things of the world instead of pursuing Christ. Well, God's love, his hesed, it's a word that implies a loyalty and behavior that may be expected from one with whom one stands in covenant relationship. It is steadfast love, the steadfast love of the Lord. That's what hesed is, and that's what God calls Hosea to share with Gomer, to give Gomer hesed love, just like God gives us his hesed, covenant love and mercy. Well, in the New Testament, it's the word agape, and that's the word that is a great word for God's love. And then he says this, he says, and I will betroth you, take you for my wife, and to me forever. I will betroth you to me in righteousness and in judgments, in steadfast love, hesed, and in mercy. Well, it is the hesed love of God that woos us back to himself, just like Gomer was brought back to Hosea. It turns the valley of Acre, the valley of trouble, into a door of hope. And also it heals our backsliding. And so God desires his hesed love to be demonstrated to us, that we receive that because it's there for us. It's new every morning, his mercies. Receive the hesed love of the Lord. Return to the Father, just like the prodigal son, and just like Gomer returns to Hosea, you and I, if we are needing to be returning to the Lord, let's do it. God bless you. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow on Daily Devo with Pastor Steve.